I'm reading from my phone because I'm not very good at doing things off a script. But I wanted to preface this with a little bit of information. I'm not sure, but either way, it seems a lot of people have misunderstood my videos, and I thought I should clear that up now because I am in no way advocating that one should stop their medications the way I did and that one should work against their doctors. I know I've had a lot of difficulties with medication in the past, and I wanted to share those experiences, but it does not mean that you should stop taking those same medications. Medications affect everyone differently, and what works for you might not work for me, or, vice versa. I believe with the right doctors and support, one can find a medication that makes their symptoms more manageable, and I know I have in the past found medications that work for me. So please do not stop taking your medications if you are on them, and if you are experiencing difficulties while on them, please make sure to tell your doctor of it beforehand so you can both discuss the best course of action. I know this sounds very scripted, like a doctor is putting a gun to my head and forcing me to say this, but I just needed to read it from a script so I can get my thoughts out clearly and so that I don't ramble on like I'm doing now.
Wow. It's been a minute. Anyways, I was 18 when I was hospitalized for the second time, but this was my first time that I was ever sent to the inpatient ward. I cried a lot during my therapy session, and I think I said something along the lines of, not wanting to live anymore or something. And, obviously that made my therapist and my doctor very nervous, so they had me forcibly hospitalized. I remember I was really nervous going in, but that entire hospitalization is a story for another time. When I was there, they put me on
Abilify. Abilify, or aripiprazole, sold under the brand name Abilify, is an atypical antipsychotic.
At the time, I was only diagnosed with depression and anxiety, so, that's what they were focusing on trying to treat. Regardless, I felt like I was losing my goddamn mind in the hospital. I just couldn't do anything, I couldn't draw, could not read, couldn't sit still, just none of that. My mind was having none of that. Anytime I tried to focus on something, my mind just felt off, and I felt so, I don't know. I'm someone that needs, constant mental stimulation. I know I'm not special in that. I know most people, or rather all people, need some kind of stimulation, but I'm kind of really dumb about it. I assume that, it's because I'm hospitalized. There's nothing to do in there. We had a whiteboard that listed optional sessions, events, whatever, like art therapy or group therapy, that kind of stuff. And besides that, we had the option of watching TV that had only 10 channels that you couldn't hear anything from because they installed it wrong or whatever. Or play with a broken foosball table. So I'm thinking oh man, when I get out of here, I'm gonna bust out of here and breathe in that dank fresh air. Around a week later, I was finally let out, and I basically ran out of there. Well, first I had to go downstairs to get my personal belongings so I can actually get home. Then I went out and bought a slice of pizza and walked home because it felt so good to finally be outside and not locked up in that little ward that I hated so much. When I got home, I tried to sleep because I couldn't really sleep the night before. And when I got into bed, I sort of just tossed and turned around a lot and decided, screw this. The sleep isn't happening right now. I'm just going to draw. So, I whip out my tablet and I tried to draw, but I felt so bizarre. I couldn't draw how I wanted to. It was extremely different from dissociating because, I've dissociated in the past and this was nothing like it. It felt sort of like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I guess dissociation is the closest thing to what I was experiencing. And I couldn't, sit still. I started pacing around the room and eventually started crying because I didn't know what was happening. I thought maybe I should call the hospital, I wasn't ready to go out. And when I went through my bag to get my phone, I looked at the medication that I'd received. The
Abilify.
And I thought, maybe that has something to do with it. So I looked it up and I saw that other people had the same experiences that I did, but at much lower doses. I had been taking them for a week at extremely high doses, so it took around 3 weeks for the effects to completely wear off. And those were some miserable 3 weeks, I'm going to tell you that. Considering I felt insane, I couldn't do anything besides walk to make myself feel better. In hindsight, I know I should have called my doctor and, spoke to them before I just stopped my medication on a whim. But no.
And a shout out to my friend Asserter for providing the music. The song is called In My Mind a Pretty Bird Flew By. Be sure to check him out too. He's a talented musician and I have his links to his SoundCloud and Bandcamp below. Thanks, Sky!